Hey guys, so today I'm going to be doing a book review on the book Sad Perfect. I'm pretty sure this is going to be my last eating disorder book review just because I'm trying to just mostly focus on the recovery part and not the triggering stuff because most of these books are really triggering. I don't know, it does validate my feelings, but also, they're going to be triggering because it's about people who are really struggling. And I think, yeah, that's gonna be triggering to someone who's also struggling. And maybe someone who even isn't struggling, or maybe someone who has struggled, they're pretty triggering. So Sad Perfect is written by Stephanie Elliott. I'm not sure when this came out, but it definitely did come out recently. Like in my last video, I don't have the book because I got it from the library and I had to return it, but I will put the cover of the book as the thumbnail. Okay, so now I'm going to read you guys the summary so you kind of know what it's about, but I also talk more about what it's about. Okay, not all picky eating is harmless. Not all eating disorders look the same. 16-year-old P knows that there has always been something wrong with the way she eats. Textures, smells, and even the sight of food are frightening. When she's finally diagnosed with a little-known eating disorder called Avoidant Restrictive Food Intake Disorder, or ARFID, her picky eating starts to make sense. P has always felt alienated, anxious, and depressed, and with her diagnosis, she is hopeful that she'll get the treatment she needs to get better. Thanks to therapy, her loving dysfunctional family, and the support of her sweet and caring new boyfriend Ben, P finally feels like she's in control for the first time in her life. But when she decides to go off her antidepressants, things start to spiral out of control. It will take inner strength and the support from her loved ones to get the help she needs to begin to challenge her eating disorder. So, first thing off the bat, this is different from my other eating disorder book reviews because, why did I say book reviews? I've literally only made 2. Okay, so, anyway, so this is different from the other 2 books I reviewed because this is ARFID and not bulimia or anorexia. Basically, ARFID can be looked at as just someone being a picky eater, and normally it is not diagnosed at a very early age because picky eating as a child is kind of dismissed by most medical professionals and even parents. But P is 16 now, she's had this problem her whole life, and her parents know there's something wrong. She knows there's something wrong. She refers to her eating disorder as a monster that is inside her, telling her that she's not hungry, that she doesn't need food, or telling her that she does need food, and she is hungry. So this monster is also telling her stuff that is not true, things about her boyfriend not liking her, or her family not caring for her. I myself am not diagnosed with ARFID. I just refer to my eating disorder that may look like ARFID to some people as just emetophobia. I just think it's easier. Emetophobia is the fear of throwing up, if you didn't know and you haven't seen my videos where I've mentioned it. Because of that, this book was extremely triggering for me. I was doing pretty okay until there was one part that I kind of had a panic attack and I was like crying. I thought I was never going to be able to eat again. It was really hard for me. I talked to my friends and kind of just cried, and they just told me that it was gonna be okay. But I kind of just talked to my friends and they kind of helped me out with it. So I'm really grateful for them, but it was still hard to read. I did finish the book. I wanted to finish the book. I just needed a little time to collect my thoughts and kind of tell people how I felt about the book and what triggered me and why it triggered me and how I thought this was gonna turn into something. So P is accepted to kind of a outpatient treatment center, and that's when she's diagnosed with ARFID, Avoidant Restrictive Food Intake Disorder. And her and her mom start crying because they're very thrilled because they've had so many dietitians and doctors say that, she's just a picky eater, she's fine. Because P is a healthy weight and is not that malnourished, they aren't really concerned about it. The end of the book is when P meets Ben, and Ben really creates a positive impact on her life. So when she meets Ben, the monster, which is what she refers to her eating disorder as, kind of simmers down a little, and she kind of feels like it's going away. So she quits taking her antidepressants, like I said in the summary, and things kind of go downhill from there. She starts self-harming. If you look at the cover of the book, there is a safety pin. Kind of stereotypical. My therapist mentioned that to me. But, I mean, stereotypes are there for a reason. Because, sometimes it's true. It doesn't mean it's always going to be true. But in this case, it was true. So throughout the book, P kind of uses, not as an excuse, but she does say a lot that the monster is controlling her and that she doesn't have control over it. So some tests are done on P by her therapist, and these tests conclude that P does not have many taste buds on her tongue and that her mouth is extra sensitive, so it does not make food as pleasurable for someone who has all the taste buds they're supposed to have and whose mouth is not extremely sensitive. P has a hard time at first connecting with the girls in her group therapy because all of them are either anorexic or bulimic, and they don't really understand how our fit is a problem. She does explain it to them, and she does kind of also say, like, if you think about it, mine's actually worse than yours. I hate that a lot. I feel like when you're in treatment, a lot of people say that, oh, I wish I had this eating disorder instead of this eating disorder. I've said that myself, like, I'll admit that. In the movie Sharing the Secret, she says, well, you're just anorexic, that's easy, you don't even have to think about food. But, that's not true. Most anorexics think about food all the time. And then some anorexics are like, oh, I wish I was bulimic because I could eat whatever I wanted to. And some people say, some people in treatment said, oh, I wish I had binge eating disorder because then I could lose weight and no one would care. Or I wish I had binge eating disorder so I could just, eat whatever I want and I wouldn't have to, get a feeding tube or anything. Maybe I'm better off with bulimia instead of anorexia. So that was one thing that kind of annoyed me about the book. So because of the safety pin that P is self-harming with, she is admitted to a psych ward. I'm very familiar with psych wards. I'd say it was pretty similar, they described it in the book pretty similar to the one I've been to. But I don't know, still kind of iffy, just a lot of stereotypes. So the part that really triggered my emetophobia was P is put into kind of the psych ward's version of solitary confinement. And the reason P is put into solitary is because she does do something wrong, but it's all really a misunderstanding. P is begging her parents to take her home, and she's literally just stuck there, and there's literally no one to save her. And when she is in solitary, they give her food, but she can't really eat that much of it because she hasn't really done exposures yet or anything. So she eats what she can, she eats what she could, and then she ends up getting sick, and she doesn't have anything to clean it up with. Felt trapped, figuratively before, just trapped in my depression or my eating disorder or my OCD, but I think he, in this situation, is not only mentally trapped, she's physically trapped. And when I was in treatment for self-harm, I felt like I was going crazy. They weren't giving me my meds when they were supposed to be giving me my meds. They didn't give me my meds for 3 days. I experienced extreme withdrawal symptoms. I was extremely dizzy. I felt like I had a fever. I felt weak. And I just really couldn't eat anything. I felt extremely anxious. And it just sucks when I remember this one moment I had went to PHP and then went back to residential, and my parents took me there at night to be admitted again. And on the unit, someone was throwing up because they were having a pseudo seizure, and other people throwing up is extremely triggering to me. So I kind of had a panic attack, and I really wanted my parents to take me home, and they just, they said, no, you have to do this. And I know it was out of love, but I just felt like the world was gonna end. I felt trapped. Literally, I had nowhere else to go. It just sucked. My parents could only visit twice a week, so that was hard. And we could only have like 15-minute phone calls every night, and they'd even like write in like a log how many minutes your phone call was. So yeah, that part really triggered me. She does talk a lot about food, and she does talk negatively about food, how she doesn't like food, she doesn't like the taste, she thinks the texture is gross. She talks really negatively about meat. Meat is a big fear food for her because of the whole animal process and also the texture and stuff. So that was also kind of triggering to me just because of my past with veganism. I think this book might be triggering just because P talks very negatively about food. I also think this could be triggering for people who self-harm and people who are triggered by suicidal thoughts. Okay guys, so that is my book review for the book Sad Perfect. I did enjoy the book. It was pretty triggering, but I do think this book could spread a lot of awareness about ARFID. There are some, not good things, like I said, with her saying that ARFID's worse than anorexia and bulimia. I don't really think we should put a worse label on any psychiatric disorder. It can be like more serious, but I just think kind of saying like, oh, well, mine's worse than yours, as making them feel bad, I don't think that's very effective. Alright, you guys, I will see you guys in my next video. Goodbye.